I take into account the guideline on sentencing young people because although you are now 18 and were 18 at the time you pleaded guilty, you were only 17 at the time of the offending, and maturity does not suddenly arrive at the moment of one's 18th birthday. I have concluded that no sentence other than a custodial sentence could be justified for your offending. That is because of the seriousness and number of the offences you committed. There is no specific guideline for possession of explosives, so I fix your sentence by considering the maximum term for the offence, which is 14 years, the relevant Court of Appeal guidance, which in my judgment is to be found in the Queen against Harvey, and the Sentencing Council guideline for the closest offence, which I have concluded is the guideline for possession of a prohibited firearm. The explosives you possessed are akin to prohibited weapons, which, like firearms, are capable of killing and injuring people if misused. Considering the guidance in Harvey, I consider firstly the motivation for your offending. I accept that it was curiosity, but it was curiosity fuelled by an interest in killers and killing. It was not simply an academic interest in chemistry. Second, I consider the potential harm. You experimented in your own home and thereby put yourself and your family at risk. It is of significance that you had the base chemicals to make more of each type of explosive. The longer-term potential for harm lies in the possibility that your obsession for explosives and serial killing would align. Third, I must consider what the Court of Appeal called in Harvey the strong need for deterrence. It is easier now than ever before for people with interests such as yours to find instructions for making explosives on the internet and then to buy through the internet the chemicals necessary for making such explosives. Gunpowder and thermite are not toys. They are akin to dangerous weapons. Those who act as you did must be clear that they will receive custodial sentences should they do so. Then, using category B2 in the guideline for possession of a prohibited firearm as a guide, I conclude that had you been an adult when you committed these offences, without the mitigation that you have available to you, I should have sentenced you to 6 years imprisonment, less credit for your guilty pleas. Your youth and mitigation means that I should significantly reduce this. Someone of your age is to be taken as being more capable of changing the course of their life than somebody who is older. Therefore, your sentence on each of these offences will be one of 3.5 years in a young offender institution, less 10% credit for guilty plea, which equates to a sentence of 37 months. Those sentences will run concurrently with each other. The length of the appropriate sentence does not allow me even to consider passing an extended sentence on you. The sentences for collecting information of use to a terrorist will also run concurrently with those terms. They do not represent separate criminality. They relate to the internet resources you accessed to make and test the explosives. They fall into category C of the relevant guideline. Category C because there was no terrorist connection to your activity, and harm category 3 because the articles contained no instruction relevant to a particular specific terrorist act. The starting point for sentence is 12 months. Your youth and other mitigation allow me to reduce that to 10 months, and from there further to 9 months in order to reflect your guilty pleas. These offences automatically make you an offender of particular concern. I must therefore order that you will serve an additional 12 months on licence after your release from this part of your sentence. The sentence will therefore be a sentence of 21 months, comprising a custodial term of 9 months and a 12-month extended supervision period. The threats that you made to your college associates do represent a different strand of criminality and will attract a consecutive sentence. The offence of making a threat to kill falls into Category 2A of that guideline. Category 2 harm because there is evidence that one of those at least who heard your threats was caused some distress. Category A culpability because the threats were made to children, that is 3 youths aged 17. The starting point for an adult in those circumstances is 2 years. In order to reflect your youth and mitigation, and to ensure that your total sentence is not excessive or disproportionate, I reduce that to 12 months before applying a discount for guilty plea. The final sentence for that count, therefore, will be one of 10 months in a young offender institution to be served consecutively to the 37 months I have already imposed. The threat to damage property was part of the same offending. You will receive a concurrent sentence for that. Based on the relevant guideline and applying the appropriate discount for age, plea and mitigation, the sentence will be one of 2 months in a young offender institution. Although the possession of the blowpipe represents a separate strand of offending, I pass a concurrent term of 2 months for that, so that your overall sentence is not excessive. Jagger Strang, will you now stand up? I sentence you as follows. On counts 1 and 2, 2 terms of 37 months in a young offender institution. On counts 3 and 4, 21 months, comprising a custodial term of 9 months in a young offender institution and a 12-month extension to supervision. All of those sentences will run concurrently with each other. On count 5, a consecutive sentence of 10 months in a young offender institution. On count 6, a concurrent sentence of 2 months. And for possession of the blowpipe, a further concurrent sentence of 2 months. Your total sentence is therefore one of 47 months or 3 years and 9 months. You will spend up to 40% of that sentence in custody and then be released on licence. Any breach of your licence conditions can result in your being recalled to prison to spend the remainder of your sentence in custody. The time you have spent on custody on remand counts towards that sentence. I stress for you and others that this is a much shorter sentence than I would have passed had you been an adult when you offended, or had you not offered a basis of plea accepted by the prosecution that you did not intend to use the explosives to create a bomb or to blow up your place of education. The surcharge applies and the order must be drawn up appropriately. You will be subject to the terrorist notification requirements for 10 years. This will allow the authorities to keep track of you over that time in order to ensure that you do not offend again. I finally make a forfeiture order in respect of all of the property in the schedule served on this court by the prosecution. That concludes this hearing, and you can take him down.